Representative Jared Solomon, in Pennsylvania, we have what's called a closed primary election. Can you explain that to us?
And thank you so much for having me here today. It's great to be here to discuss an issue that is critical to voting rights right here in our Commonwealth. Right now, what our closed primary system does is it restricts 1.4 million folks who have made a decision not to affiliate with the two major parties, Democrat or Republican, but to rather say, I don't like what these two are doing. I want to be registered independent or unaffiliated. A closed primary system says, we're going to take your taxpayer money for the public administration of our elections, every single primary. But by the way, you get no voice, you get no vote, sit it out, not your time, not your turn. This is undemocratic. It's un-American, and we need to do better here in Pennsylvania.
Representative, why does Pennsylvania have a closed primary?
Well, a lot of things don't change in Pennsylvania, and this was enacted in 1927. The world has changed. The compelling reasons to ensure that only people affiliated with the major two parties could vote. That has changed. And here's what's changed. People. The fastest growing party in Pennsylvania are folks who are registering as unaffiliated or as independents. Nearly 16% of the electorate are people who don't want to affiliate with any party. And think about who most consists of that 16%. Veterans, a very diverse collection of folks, people that are young, 18 and above, 18 to 35, one of the fastest growing groups of independent voters. So we are saying to veterans who have proudly served our country, we are saying to young people who are new to the voting system, we'll take your money, but we will not allow you to vote.
Representative, let's expand our perspective on this issue and consider other states. Approximately how many other states have a closed primary, just like Pennsylvania?
Just like Pennsylvania, about 9 others. So what that means is these are states that say the party structure, the establishment, big party bosses, they are going to decide, as a private club would decide, how the primaries are organized. So if you're a Democrat or Republican, you're in. Otherwise, you're out. We don't want your participation. 10 states total. The vast majority of states, though, go in a very different direction. So some have what are called semi-open primaries. And even though we talk about open primaries, it's really a semi-open primary, still a pretty restricted primary that I'm calling for, which would allow unaffiliated voters to vote in either the Democratic or Republican primaries. The completely open primary system is something like we have in California, which is if you are a Republican or Democrat, you can vote for anyone, right? So if you're a Republican in the primary, you can vote for either a Republican or Democrat. If you're a Democrat, you could vote for a Republican or a Democrat or any of the other third-party candidates, or what is typically called a guerrilla primary. That's not what we're talking about. We're sort of narrowing the universe to just folks that are unaffiliated or registered independent and allowing them to have a voice in the primary system.
Well, let's just say, Representative, as of tomorrow, for example, we were allowed to have an open primary here in Pennsylvania. I wonder how that would affect the contingent of independent voters. I wonder if that would grow.
Well, right now, if you're independent or you're unaffiliated, we here in Pennsylvania, if you want to have a vote, force you to join one of the major two parties. If we opened up the primary system, which again would mean if you're unaffiliated and independent, let's say you were one of those independent voters, you would go into your polling place. They would see that you're a registered independent, and they would say to you, do you want a Republican or Democratic ballot? You would then sign an affidavit once you cast your vote saying that on that primary day, you decided to vote in either the Democratic or Republican primary. But you maintain the integrity of your choice, which is not to affiliate with any of the two major parties. So, to your question about what that would do, that's going to engage your voice and your vote in the primary system. Where in Pennsylvania, in state legislative races, 90% of races are determined in the primary system. In effect, we're not just limiting independents from voting in the primary, they actually have no voice in the general election. So now your voice is part of the mix because me, as a Democrat, I need to reach out to you in a primary to make sure your voice is heard on the issues of the day: education, healthcare, the business climate here in Pennsylvania. You are now going to, and studies show this, you're going to be much more likely to engage, vote in a general election. And now you're going to be a participating member, a member of our civic fabric that is going to get you engaged in the democratic process. That's a win for every Pennsylvanian, regardless of party.
We know the language in any legislation is important, so I want to make sure that I clearly understand this before we talk more about your bill that would have open primaries here in Pennsylvania. A few minutes ago, you interchanged the words unaffiliated and independent. I thought about that for a minute, and in my mind, they seem the same. Are they?
I know you seemed a little confused. And I understand that. Okay. So if you pulled up the Department of State website or you had a voter registration form, you could register as a Democrat, Republican, you would check the box, Libertarian. There's another category called unaffiliated. It's actually a category of voter in Pennsylvania. So if you check that box, unaffiliated, again, fastest growing affiliation in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you would now be able to vote in Pennsylvania primaries. In addition, there's another box that says other, If you check that box and wrote independent or unaffiliated, you would also be allowed to vote in a primary. So this is my legislation is attempting to capture the voters that truly do not want to be affiliated with any major party.
A representative, what do your constituents have to say about the issue of an open primary? This sounds like something that would concern them, and maybe they came to you with their input.
If you look at my district in some off-cycle elections, we have elections where less than 10% of voters are coming to the polls. Now, there are many reasons. You could say people are working multiple jobs. They get busy. They forget it's election day. They have families to raise. There's a lot of distrust with the political system, and they decide not to vote. But I don't think anyone would submit that with less than 10% of voters, of coming out to the polls, we're in a good spot. Everyone would say that we need to do better. This is a tool for us to do better, to inject new energy, dynamic energy into the primary system, to get new people to engage in our democracy. This proposal of allowing unaffiliated and independent voters to vote in primaries, poll after poll after poll shows 70 to 80% of people saying, so this isn't just my district, it's throughout all 67 counties, 70-80% of people on the far left, progressives, on the far right, MAGA Republicans, saying, we want this. We need this to have a healthier democracy, because the fundamental principle of you pay in, you prop up all the things you see on election day, all the people who vote, who work the polls, the machinery of democracy. You can see it. If you're an independent, you can feel it, but you can't participate in it. The birthplace of democracy must demand more. We must do better for our citizens here in Pennsylvania.
Do independent voters rather, skew Republican or Democratic? And I ask that because being an independent voter in the first place reflects some disillusionment with one of those major parties.
I think that's true, and I don't think the story really has been told about whether this would be a bigger advantage to Republicans or Democrats. I think it's just an advantage to Team Pennsylvania, where more people get to be participating members in our elections. Right now, remember, as an independent or unaffiliated voter, what do you get to vote on? You get to vote on ballot questions. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't go to sleep the night before the election day and get up early because I'm excited to vote on ballot questions. And if you're an independent, that's all you can do. About 76,000 people in Pennsylvania in 2024 made the decision that they don't want to affiliate with any of the major parties here in Pennsylvania. And by the way, as a Democrat, what I want to say is, I think our party, the Democratic Party, is best positioned to bring those 76,000 people into the Democratic fold here in Pennsylvania. And that needs to be a big battle of ideas for where independents are going to go. But the one option that is not acceptable is to shut them out without allowing their voice to be on the record for the issues of the day here in Pennsylvania.
Representative, we have about 3 minutes left. So at this stage, tell me briefly what is in your legislation and what are maybe some pertinent details that we haven't touched on yet that would allow an open primary in Pennsylvania.
I think that the biggest need for this is on many issues here in Pennsylvania. We can't say, and I don't think Democrats or Republicans can say, that we own the best ideas on, let's say, the business climate or healthcare or education in Pennsylvania. It's just not accurate. Independents have ideas on how to improve the business climate in Pennsylvania, just like I do as a Democrat. But guess what? Their ideas are not welcome to the table because they don't get to register whether they support candidates in our primary system. That's problematic. Now, why are people opposing this idea in the legislature here in Pennsylvania? Well, I think a lot of it is fear. And it's about 5,000 voters in every district, House district. You would have about 5,000, sometimes less, sometimes a little more, depending on which county you're in, are independents or unaffiliated. Now, what does that mean for me as an elected official? If I have a primary battle, I need to go door to door, talk to more people. I need to have town halls where there are going to be new voices. And I need to communicate that to them in a different way. But that's healthy for us here in Pennsylvania, because that makes me flex new muscles in engaging a new group of people, primarily, by the way, young people and veterans and a diverse coalition, in figuring out whether I'm really representing my district, are my positions reflective of independent and Democratic voices and Republican voices? We would,
Representative, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but we only have about a minute left in our program. So again, let's just get back to the pertinent details in your legislation. It would permit a primary to be open, and is a start date proposed in your legislation? And then finally tell us where this whole idea is in our legislative process.
passed unanimously in the House last session. A few years back, it passed, sorry, not unanimously. Last session, it passed on a bipartisan vote. I wish it passed unanimously in the House. In the Senate, a few years back, it passed on a 43-7 vote.
Is there a
need to now
proposed
marry
start
the
date,
two up.
Representative, in your legislation?
What's that?
Is there a proposed start date for an open primary in your legislation?
There is, but we're going to be working towards a different date because we know the counties need more time to implement this. Here's the bottom line. 1.4 million Pennsylvanians, unaffiliated, independent, are shut out of the system. We say, give us your money, give us your hard-earned taxpayer dollars, no voice, no vote. This legislation changes that and brings new voices into our democracy here in Pennsylvania.
Representative Jared Solomon, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.